everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Awesome Sunday Show for our During the Week episode. Pat here.
And Connor back as usual.
What else is new with that? So Connor, today...
I am a part of the show.
Oh, yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
For better or for worse. But today we're going to be talking about a movie that we've been anticipating. Not as high as Civil War, but certainly very...
I was
very highly
for
anticipated. I'm still excited for it. And that is X-Men Apocalypse, which comes out Memorial Day
days from
weekend.
now.
Yeah. I'm still excited for it, but today we're going to be talking about some of the early buzz it's getting.
Yeah. So let's take a step back for a little bit. Let's lead up to what we're going to talk about. First, let's talk about the pre-release information and all, like the pre-buzz for Civil War. It was all positive, like all unanimous. It's holding right now 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. Mm-hmm. Civil War overall, which is great. There's some Academy Award winning movies that don't even get that high.
Right.
So like the pre-buzz was there. Now let's go back to the X-Men movies. Days of Future Past, same thing happened too. Days of Future Past was surprising. Was like a surprise hit. No one expected it to be that good.
Yeah, it wasn't really getting a lot of buzz beforehand. And that's because a lot of people, the trailers for it were not that great.
No.
They were very dull. So like people weren't like as amped about it. Even coming off the success of First Class.
Yeah, but even First Class is like, it's a good movie, but it never like picked up like the other X-Men movies did. Mm-hmm. Or like at least the first two.
Yeah.
It wasn't until like Days of Future Past where it was like X-Men's back.
Oh yeah, and you know what? Days of Future Past turned out amazing.
I loved it. I think it might be the best X-Men movie.
If it's not it's certainly tied at least with X-Men 2.
Yeah. So the pre-buzz for those two movies were really good, and like which says a lot for a movie. I mean, now let's look back at your favorite movie, Batman vs Superman.
Clearly, that's your favorite. Everybody knows that you said it was better than Civil War.
Yeah, I never said that. You tweeted that, and it's not even true.
It's on the internet. It's true.
Oh yeah, because that's always happened. And we remember pre-buzz for that movie wasn't mixed. It was straight up bad. So now let's lead up to X-Men Apocalypse. And while I'm still very excited for this movie, I try not to let reviews deter, because there's been some movies that were critically panned, and I watch it, I'm like, why is that critically panned? It wasn't perfect, but at least it was good.
Yeah, there are some movies that don't receive high ratings that I really enjoy.
Yeah, like Hook, the movie Hook with Robin Williams and Dustin Hoffman has like a 34% Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah, it's like a really long movie, but like, dude, that movie's awesome. I don't understand. Like, there's sometimes where I can be overly critical of a movie. Sometimes I can nitpick. I know I'm annoying with people like that. But there are times where I'm like, dude, like, it is a movie. Like, the environment itself is okay to look over the flaws. Yeah. You know? And, but as of right now, some pre-reviews that come out for X-Men Apocalypse are right now at Rotten Tomatoes, it sits at a 56%, which is mixed.
Yeah, and the average rating is a 5.7 out of 10.
Yeah. And I've actually been scrolling through some of the reviews. I'm just looking at the rating. The critics are literally divided. Like, it's not like it's getting good reviews, but people say we know it's flawed. Mm-hmm. Like, there are some critics saying like Bryan Singer's back with this movie. It's just as good as Days of Future Past, and there's people that are saying it's really disappointing. Mm-hmm. So it's really interesting as far as when it comes to how this movie's really going to turn out for us. You know. We all pretty much, you know, and when I say us all, I mean like us two, and then like regular guests like Hoffman, D'Elia, Mike Sands. Like, we all pretty much have like a unanimous opinion when it comes to certain movies like this.
Yeah.
Very, like, obviously there's different opinions for certain ones of what's
very
better
similar.
or not. Very similar. Yeah. I have a feeling that this movie might divide us in opinion wise, like whether we liked it or not.
Right.
Just by going off critical basis again, you know, and it still has a 99% want to see on Rotten Tomatoes. So,
yeah, those don't really change. Like, once people vote for that, then that's it.
Like, I voted for that.
Yeah, me too.
You know, obviously want to see, and I also like the way Apocalypse looks too.
Yes, they definitely made him look much better.
He looks stupid.
The first trailer.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm glad that they changed that. Even Bryan Singer admitted like the lighting they used for it and like was terrible. And just the way they took the pictures and released them was terrible, and he openly admitted that. And he goes,
Right.
and we have tweaked it since then, but that's natural. Like, not everything stays the same as they first start
No, yeah, it's,
filming, and like especially effects wise and like costume wise, it adapts and it changes.
Right. And like again, like when I first saw it, I was like, that guy, like, and the internet said it too. That looks like Ivan Ooze from the Power Rangers movie. And then
Yeah.
when the new trailer started coming around, you're like, all right, he looks bluer. He actually looks really cool. It's weird how much a shade of color can make things so much different.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, it really did. And then the trailer for this movie was so much better than the Days of Future Past trailer.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with that. And I liked the marketing campaign behind it more. I think it's done a better job, not just from the 3 main trailers, but they did this one trailer. Do you know the show that Leonard Nimoy was the host of, In Search of?
No.
All right, it was this pretty cool show, and if you don't know who Leonard Nimoy is, you should be ashamed, but he was
Yeah.
Spock in Star Trek, obviously. You know who that
R.I.P..
is. Yes, R.I.P. It was this like really out there show. I think it was in the 70s or something. It was like like this investigative into like weird shit kind of, but they made a parody trailer of that talking about apocalypse, which I thought was really cool. And then I'm glad they started showing a little bit more Quicksilver, which is great.
Yeah,
because I loved Quicksilver.
Yeah, I thought
in Future Past.
Yeah, I thought Evan Peters as Quicksilver was like awesome, and I like that Quicksilver better. And again, I didn't hate the Avengers Age of Ultron Quicksilver, but I like the X-Men version too.
I did too. Don Pagnotta, our friend, has said he didn't feel the same way, but he's one of the few people I had seen say that or heard say that. But I preferred him in Days of Future Past, and
that scene where he's running around and like touching the bullets and like
it's so great.
I was dying,
and I can't wait for that sort of scene to happen again in this movie, because he's supposed to have a larger role in it, thankfully.
Yeah,
which I think a lot of people want. And so like even the promotion they did, I think they did some sort of like high speed internet commercial or something like that. They like did a mixed campaign with it, and they did like a Quicksilver sequence in it that had like some of the newer mutants in it too, like Nightcrawler, I think Storm was in it, and a couple other people, and they made it funny. They incorporated like the other characters well, and then showed off like his skill and what he's going to be doing. So that was cool.
Yeah.
One thing I've noticed, particularly on Reddit, mainly on Reddit, is people have been complaining of the trailers of how much of a focus has been put on Mystique.
Well, it's Jennifer Lawrence is one of the biggest American stars right now.
She's one of the biggest stars in the world,
right?
Not just the country.
Good point.
But I think with Reddit, it's partially because Reddit right now, for whatever reason, is in an anti-Jennifer Lawrence circle jerk. She was like adored, and then Reddit turned on her. Oddly enough, they turned on her after her nude pictures got leaked. So I guess they saw her naked, and they're like, all right, we're done with her.
Yeah.
Which
I can't. I have a love-hate relationship with Reddit.
Yeah, it is what it is. You can't really accept it, but they have a habit of doing that, like loving something and then turning on it so quickly.
Yeah.
But so that's one complaint, and they're like,
it's cool to hate.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, they're only doing that because of how big of a star she is. Partially, yeah. You want to have somebody who's...
I would say mainly, yeah.
Yeah, and they're complaining because she plays the character Mystique, and they're like, Mystique's not that important. Fair enough. Not always. Like in the first 3 X-Men movies, she wasn't that big. She was kind of there, like a secondary character that Magneto used.
She kind of sucked, actually.
But see, a lot of people are saying, oh, she's way better in that than she was in Days of Future Past. I don't agree.
No, I don't agree at all.
She was fine, but I didn't really care.
She was serviceable in those movies.
Yeah, exactly.
In fact, in X-Men 3, when she has arguably the biggest role, even though she has the least amount of screen time, for like just because of how like what the scene meant for and the progression of the story, I thought that was terrible. Again, I don't hate X-Men 3 like a lot of people do. I know you really don't like that movie. I actually kind of enjoy it.
I like it more than X-Men. Origins.
I like it more. Yeah, I hate X-Men Origins Wolverine. I hate that movie. But that's the only X-Men movie I really just don't like. But yeah, with X-Men 3, which I think arguably she has the biggest. It's her biggest role up until that point. Mm-hmm. Even though she has the least amount of screen time, like I said before, for how the story progresses because of like what happens to her. Spoilers. I mean, well, the movie's been out for almost over 10 years now. There's a mutant cure that goes around, and she gets shot with it. So, which like, and then like Magneto says, "Oh, what a shame, she was so beautiful. Now that she's not a mutant, he doesn't want her part of her plan."
Right.
Which shows how much of a piece of crap Magneto is.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, and also I kind of thought that wasn't 100% Magneto's character. In that, I thought he would have tried to find an uncure for her.
Yeah.
But
or it turned her back into a mutant like he was turning people into mutants in X1.
Yeah, exactly. It didn't make sense. So, but I thought that was a flaw, and then it's like now that Jennifer Lawrence, who is an amazing actress, better than the actress they originally had.
Yeah.
And now again, well, I shouldn't say that. They didn't really give her much to work with in the old movies.
But overall, she's a better actress regardless.
Yeah. So of course her character is going to be, elevated.
Yeah.
And
plus, since First Class, they've made Mystique more important to this trilogy than she was in the first one. That's why she's playing a bigger role, is because they've written her character to be more important and to be, very close to Charles.
It goes hand in hand.
Yeah,
it's her. It's how important they made her character, and also to the how big Jennifer Lawrence is. And like, I think it's more of how big Jennifer Lawrence has gotten than her character progressing. I don't think her character would have changed that much, but I think when it comes to advertising, it's like, hey, it's Jennifer Lawrence. We have to show her in this trailer as much as possible. Yeah. So like, you also got to take that with a grain of salt. It's just because I've seen trailers where the scenes in the trailer never even made it in the movie, which is notorious for the Paranormal Activity franchise. So like, how many and like again, you see a trailer for like Looper, which almost looks nothing like the movie you saw. So the movie we watched, Mystique might not have as big as a role as the trailers make her out to seem. But like then like there's people like my mother who loves Jennifer Lawrence. She would never go see an X-Men movie, but like someone who's a fan of Jennifer Lawrence and her movies might say, hey, like this, she's in this movie. I think she's really good. I'm gonna go see it.
Yeah,
there's a ticket sale.
And the
right
thing
there.
is, like, she has a worldwide appeal because of how popular she is right now.
Exactly.
Granted,
marketing standpoint, it makes perfect sense why you would put her in the trailers.
Yeah, exactly. James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender, even though they've both been acting longer, and at least Fassbender is probably a better actor than she is, but
I think he's probably the best one out of that crew.
Yeah, but he's still not even as popular as Jennifer Lawrence.
Nope.
And that's because he wasn't in the Hunger Games. But Jennifer Lawrence is still a talented actress, so I think it's a little bit of both. Maybe more so than the other, but it's also because it's not just because she's Jennifer Lawrence. It's because they've written Mystique to be more important to this trilogy.
Absolutely.
And I think that a lot of people are complaining about that, but they're like, oh, it's just because she's Jennifer Lawrence. No, it's a mix of both. Like I said, maybe one more so than the other, but it's not like for this movie they're like, oh, we're going to make Mystique huge. She was pretty big in First Class. Pretty important.
She was the key to the plot in Days of Future Past.
Yeah, she was the main.
Even though Wolverine was the main character.
Yeah. They were kind of both main. But see, the reason that Wolverine became the main character is because of how popular Hugh Jackman is as Wolverine. That's why granted, Hugh Jackman's a terrific actor, and Wolverine is one of the most popular X-Men characters of all time. But that also played a role in it too, and that's why people keep wanting him to be in more, and that he's in the third trailer, which I expected. I knew Wolverine was going to be in this.
Yeah,
that was no secret.
Yeah, it wasn't a surprise to anybody.
Though from what Bryan Singer said, it's not a small cameo, but it's not a huge role. Like, he's not going to have nearly as much screen time as he did in Days of Future Past.
No, I don't expect that. I wouldn't want that either. Because as much as I love Wolverine, like the main problem I have with a lot of the X-Men movies is that it's not an X-Men movie; it's a Wolverine movie.
Yeah,
it's like when they're like, oh, X-Men Origins Wolverine, when that was getting like buzz, it's like, oh, Wolverine's finally getting his own solo movie. It's like, dude, Wolverine's always had his own solo movie since the first X-Men movie. And that's one of the reasons why I love First Class. Well, I don't love First Class. I like it, but I love the fact that they didn't make Wolverine the most important character.
Right. They just gave him like a little.
And it's not because I hate Wolverine. Wolverine's one of my favorite comic book characters ever, but like, damn, dude, how many times I see him on screen? Like, I want to see other mutants.
Yeah, there's so many X-Men that you can.
And Beast gets like shafted. He's my favorite mutant, and he gets literally like shafted in those movies. Mm-hmm. Even at the end of Days of Future Past, where he's like, "Hey, Logan." Like, oh, cool. Kelsey Grammer comes back just for that role. Like, he was good in X3 though. I liked him.
Yes. And so like another reason is because we see or something. Professor X gets like, at least the trailers make it seem he gets taken at some point. So the X-Men need a new leader. They need to learn how to fight. Clearly, Mystique is a great fighter. She was even a great fighter in the first X-Men trilogy.
Yeah.
For the little time she was on screen, she was a very skilled fighter. So obviously, she's going to have to step up because, Beast, so far in the first two movies, has not been much of a leader. He's more of like a counselor. Or, no, that's not even a good way to put it. I don't know how to put it, but like, he can't take a leadership position.
Yeah, he's
the way they have him right now.
Yeah, he's more. It's hard. Like it's hard for a leader without. He doesn't have the confidence, and Beast is my favorite mutant. I like when First Class did him justice, and then Days of Future Past he was good in too. So hopefully like this movie, like when they got Nicholas Hoult to play Beast, I was like, great choice. But even though he's one of my favorite mutants, or he is my favorite mutant, one of my favorite characters, it would be weird for him to be a leader.
Right. Yeah, it's just not something he fits in.
No, yeah, and that's fine. Being a leader doesn't mean you're not important or not the most. Sometimes a leader isn't the most important person on the team.
Right.
But whatever. That's just my point.
Yeah. So he can't lead this group of young kids. Because in the movie they're not that old. They're probably like teenagers or close to our age or whatever, and they're severely inexperienced. Not. Cyclops says it in the trailer, not all of us can control our powers. Him specifically. If he takes off his glasses or the eyepiece they bring for him, he can't control his blasts.
Yeah, he used to be able to. In the comics,
he suffered a head injury or something. Yeah, but like other than that, he probably not great hand-to-hand combatant, and I'm sure most of them aren't. But they need leadership, so that's why Mystique steps up. Aside from being important to the last two movies. So I think that's kind of unfair criticism to use against the movie.
Right.
And there are people, it's also unfair to hate on it just because it's Jennifer Lawrence. That's why like I used to love Reddit. I used to go on Reddit all the time. And then like I don't know why, but like whenever it's like they always build something up and like they like we love it, and then once it hits a certain level of popularity, then they just start to hate it. Yeah, because it gets cool.
It gets cool. Yeah, like Reddit is literally like it's hipster heaven. Like it's
and they say they're not. They're like, oh, we're so different from everything.
Yeah,
they're exactly like that.
You're exactly like that. And again, it's not everyone on Reddit. Like there are like I literally seen stuff on Reddit that's like legitimately like an intelligent conversation or
there's some great stuff on Reddit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's just I've seen some really funny threads too.
Yeah, it's like the vocal minority.
Yeah,
which has everything, but it's ridiculous. But she being the forefront of the movie will not take away from it, in my opinion. It at least won't ruin my experience with it.
Yeah. Let's wait. We'll wait and see. I'm still excited for the movie. And like again, like 99% of the movies I see, I go in with an open mind. Very rarely do I go see a movie like I know this is gonna be good or I know this is gonna suck. Mm-hmm. But actually, it's like what I want to touch upon a little bit though is actually the mixed reviews. It's actually getting me more excited for the movie because it's not so much as I'm getting excited for the movie, like knowing what I'm going to see is either good or bad, or I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. What I'm seeing is going to be good, and like I'm going to see how good it is. I'm excited to see whether I like it or not because I'm either going to be like it's either one side of the fence. I'm either going to be not liking this movie and brushing off the haters, or I'm going to be liking this movie a lot and then I'm going to have to defend it, like why it's good. So I'm excited for that because we can agree with movies all day or we can disagree with movies all day. But like really the fun in movies is, you know, seeing like, hey, like
Yeah,
I
talking
like
about
this, I don't like this.
Yeah. I mean, one thing we can certainly agree on without seeing it is that it can't be as bad as Your Friend Batman vs. Superman.
That movie is so bad.
I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah, that might be
all two of us here, but
Yeah.
anybody who's listening. Yeah, I'm still excited to see it because, you know, the cast is great. The New Mutants they're putting in it are great. You know, this is going to be the first time we see, like, Psylocke on screen.
Yeah.
Angel's becoming Archangel. And I feel like he's...
Nightcrawler's coming back.
Nightcrawler's coming back. But, like, you know, Angel himself is kind of like a lame character. You know, his only thing is he has wings. But as Archangel, he looks really sick. You know, he's got these new metal wings that he can shoot fucking blades out of. And he's going to have... You know, he's not going to be a bitch. Obviously, Apocalypse wouldn't choose him if he's going to be a bitch.
Right.
Plus, I'm excited to see the new Storm. I like Storm. Halle Berry, she was a little all over the place for me in the first 3 movies. Like, I did enjoy her at some parts, but some parts I feel like maybe it was because she wasn't
In the first movie, I
fully
remember she had like
utilized.
a weird accent.
Yeah, I didn't like that. That kind
It-
of like took me out of it.
Yeah, it kind of didn't sound right, and it was like half-assed. Like almost, they tried to make it like she was raised from a kid that already had an accent, and it developed into an American accent, but it never really sounded right. And it almost, I almost like, and then like by X-Men 2 and 3, it was just gone.
Yeah.
You know, and it was weird. So I don't know what they're gonna do with. I hope they don't bring an accent. And see, if you can't do the accent right, just don't do it. It's fine. You know.
Yeah, because it just takes away from the character.
Right. Like again, like it was perfect with Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther.
Right.
Like that was one of the few times where I'm like, this guy's got it down. You know. So I that's another thing too. It's with the X-Men movies, as much as I like respect them, there's a lot of inconsistencies too, and that might be a main criticism that I'll have of the movie. It's just what I'm thinking of right now. When it comes to like, I know the timeline has changed, but what they always overlap certain things and they always overthink certain things. Like I'll never forget like when I saw the ending of First Class and I was like, Patrick Stewart stood up at the end of Origins Wolverine, but now McAvoy is paralyzed, which is a younger version.
Right.
Didn't make sense. I don't know how it's gonna play out.
But now, Days of Future Past corrected that.
Yeah,
Because X-Men Origins takes place after First Class now. So, you know,
it still doesn't really make sense.
No, it doesn't make sense, but that's what happens when you bring in time travel and changing timelines and stuff. It just, you know,
or you
throws
bring
all
in
over
bad
the place.
writers and directors.
The writer and director of First Class was good. I liked it.
Well, no, I'm talking about like Origins Wolverine.
Oh yeah,
and
I mean that's
X-Men 3.
that's just bad. Yeah, but you know they gotta adjusting the timeline like that. It's something difficult that they're gonna have a problem. I think fixing completely because
You can't.
you can't because you know involving time travel in anything brings so many problems in itself because you have to establish rules. You have to make sure you follow those rules, but it's always hard because you're always contradicting them. Like Looper, I think, did a solid job with time travel. You know, here and there it's a little inconsistent, but you know it for the most part stuck to its rules.
Well, because no one really knows how time travel can actually work, I feel like.
Right.
Like you can only speculate. Like I feel like in real life, if time travel was a legitimate thing, I feel like it would like rip a fabric or something like that. Like it would be like a monstrous like epidemically bad thing we would have to deal with because like that's something that just has never been messed with before. So like but it's also a movie. You know? Like they're obviously like it's not going to be happening that bad.
Right. And you know, no matter what,
I think the closest time travel's ever gotten like right to I think it would actually happen is Flashpoint. As far as like, because like it does screw everything up.
Yeah.
And that like is never really touched upon like in a lot of stuff.
right? It's you know it's something difficult. Like even Legends of Tomorrow, which is a time traveling show, has you know been inconsistent about it. Primer was actually really good too with their time travel. But yeah, it's always difficult, and alternating timelines is always difficult. And now that they've rebooted the timelines, that it still has some things from the first trilogy, but other things changed a lot from it.
Right.
And then the fact that they're going to have a sequel to this, which is going to take place in the 90s, they kind of wrote themselves into a corner with it. But if they do it right, it'll be good.
Right.
It'll be good. I mean,
Is Singer directing the next one?
he might. He's not confirmed to. They just know that they're going to make another one.
If I were him, I would stop. He's like, this is like what, his fourth X-Men movie.
Yeah.
The guy's got some serious talent. Superman Returns was shitty, but like, he made The Usual Suspects. I would kind of want to see him do something different and bring something new in.
Yeah, and you know what? Actually, a lot of X-Men fans don't like Bryan Singer, what he's done with the X-Men universe.
Yeah, no, I understand that too. Like, X-Men was never like my favorite thing ever in the world. But I've always really enjoyed it.
Uh-huh.
I think the 90s cartoon doesn't hold up as well as some people want it to, but it's still good and still got like one of the best theme songs I ever heard in my life.
Right.
And also the message is still there, and it's not like heavy-handed either. So like that holds up. It's not a terrible show by any means. But yeah, I understand like people's frustrations with him because of how much he has changed. You remember my buddy John? He's a huge X-Men fan. Like that's his thing. He loves X-Men. And like as much as he's like, I know the movies are good. It's like how we felt about Iron Man 3.
Right.
We know it's a good movie, but like from how much they've changed, it's hard for us to enjoy it.
Okay, nothing they've done with X-Men is as bad as what they did with Mandarin, in my opinion.
Yeah, yes and no. Like you can
They haven't handled Cyclops that well. Like I know that's a comic.
He kind of sucked, but actually I disagree. I think because how they treated the Dark Phoenix was awful.
Yeah, I mean that's probably their worst offense.
I think that's the worst offense. Also, too, Silver Samurai kind of sucked. If that wasn't even really Silver Samurai,
right?
So I don't even know if I can even really complain about that properly. But like, yeah, I think how they mess again, and I have to always reiterate, I don't hate X-Men 3. I don't think it's that bad, but I think the Dark Phoenix thing is just as big of an offense as the Mandarin not really being the Mandarin. Especially if you're a true X-Men fan. Mm-hmm. Like I can imagine like you grew up your whole life reading X-Men comics and like the Dark Phoenix. It's never gotten as good as the Dark Phoenix saga.
It's hard to do though.
Yeah, and then you see this movie, and then you're like, I'm so excited for something that I've loved for years, like coming on screen, and
something so huge to the X-Men too.
Yeah, and they didn't even get it right. Like it wasn't like it didn't even make sense that they called her Dark Phoenix.
Oh no, I don't think they got a single thing right. Really.
No, like it was just Jean Grey unlocking her power. It was like it was stupid. It was really stupid. They should never even done it because in that X-Men universe, it wouldn't have made sense for Dark Phoenix to come. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it would have made perfect sense.
Yeah,
but I get why they did it, and I know X-Men 3 was supposed to be the last one. At the time, they're like, this is like that's why it was called The Last Stand.
Yeah,
and then now like 5 movies later,
it's because X-Men is still in high demand.
Yeah, it is. It made money. It made
it's one of, if not the highest like selling group of comics in all time. I think more copies have been sold of X-Men comics than mostly anything else.
Yeah, it's
either number 1 or top 3 or something like that
for superhero group.
Yeah,
I think it's definitely, it has. I would say like, and this is just like this is just a safe bet right here. I would say it's definitely the top 5.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like I understand completely where like again, I love X-Men, I do, but like I'm not like, it's not like my favorite series ever. I could see why like a real hardcore X-Men fan would be like really pissed off with Bryan Singer and what he's done. But at the same time, the movies are good though. Most of the X-Men movies are good.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's why I don't mind. It's like, you know what? Like it could have been accurate. Like it could have been like Spawn. It could have been accurate, but it's been really, really bad.
Yeah.
So and at the end of the day, I just want a good movie.
He has taken some liberties with X-Men, and he's left out some things, but I think, a lot of things don't work well from page to screen, but I think X-Men has more things that wouldn't work out on screen than any other of the other franchises. But I still think, obviously there's some things that he did wrong, but I still think that, some of the stuff he left out, I completely understand why, because it either wouldn't work or wouldn't make sense in the scope of the movies.
Right, and he still got the essence of the movies, the essence of X-Men right, as far as when it comes to like prejudices and like what could you do with this power for mankind, like all those themes of that we deal with today, and like of course like they're represented in superhero form, which is cool, and like he still got that right.
Yeah, he still got the social commentary.
Exactly, and I feel like that's where X-Men really is. It's kind of like it's like when Godzilla fans like bitch about how like is Godzilla a good guy or a bad guy? Like what should he be? And it's just like, well, it's as long as they get one thing down, the right thing is like the fear of the people that he's affecting.
Right.
So like I don't really care that much like when it comes down to, as long as you get like the spirit of the source material right, and you don't stray like too far away, and like Wolverine is still Wolverine. Like I guess just like a nitpick for me about those movies is, Wolverine I know is a way better fighter in the comics than he is in the movies. In the movies he sucks if you really think about it. He gets cut all the time.
Yeah, he's too reliant on trying to overpower.
Yeah,
instead of fighting smart.
Like from what I understand in the comics and like from what I've read, like the only time like that happens where he gets cut up all the time and like that is when he's fighting multiple people that are better than him, or like the Hulk or something like that. And
I think it's because too that they just wanted to show off his healing power.
Yeah, I get it. It's Hollywood. They want to show off the special effects. But like it would have been cool for like the build up. Like Wolverine doesn't need healing powers against most of his adversaries.
Right.
There's like the only like there Sabretooth is something he needs that for. Magneto, obviously, like people that are better than him or like more powerful than he is.
I don't know if Sabretooth is necessarily more powerful. I think him and
Wolverine
on his
level
are pretty much on the same level, but they have a similar fighting style. But parts of it also like complement one another. They just don't use them together; they use it against each other.
Right.
And Sabretooth has always been like a problem for Wolverine. And I think Wolverine and Sabretooth definitely have a similar fighting style that gives, that's why I think Sabretooth has done a lot of damage to him.
Same thing with Lady Deathstrike as well.
Yeah.
All those Weapon X program people.
Yeah.
You got to remember, like, it's also an adaptation.
Yeah, and I think a problem is that people just, as soon as, like, one thing is not accepted, not included or changed to fit the movie itself, they just automatically will hold that against the movie instead of accepting it, that it's not done like that or it's not in there.
It shouldn't ruin a movie for somebody.
Yeah, and I think that's what they do. They make it ruin the movie or the franchise instead of accepting it and moving on and focusing on other things in it.
Right, the things that are good, because you have to remember, like, the Dark Phoenix saga, I can't even tell you how many, I don't know off the top of my head how many issues of a comic that is. But, like, you also got to consider a comic book is normally, like, 32 to 36 pages, something like that?
Yeah.
Roughly. So, the amount of panels that's on that and the amount of story that's in there and, like, the characters, and not to mention, like, when comic sagas start, the characters are already established. So you don't really need to build up a character unless there's one new character being introduced. Right. In a movie, you have to introduce and build up the characters as well as telling the story that you want to tell.
Yeah.
So things are going to get cut.
Plus, you have, at most like 2.5 hours to fit some stuff in that, especially with ensemble, like team-up movies like the X-Men.
Yeah. And someone always gets like shafted, like Beast did in X-Men 3.
Yeah. It's hard to, it's not like you have a superhero solo movie. It's not like an Iron Man or Captain America movie, with the exception of the last two Captain America movies, because they're not as single focused. But there's a whole bunch of X-Men, and in the Brotherhood of Mutants, there's a whole bunch of more mutants, and they have to include more, and cycle some out and then add new ones in, and they have to build them up.
And it's not a flaw because the movie's forced to do this, but like there's a lot of cool mutants in the X-Men movies that don't really get the screen time they deserve.
Right.
Because they're really just there to fight. Like when Ray Park was Toad in X-Men 1.
Mm-hmm.
And I always loved Toad. And he sucked in that movie, technically. Like, he's kind of cool. And has he ever been in an X-Men movie after that? Because he dies.
I don't know. He wasn't that memorable for me, so I don't really
Yeah, and like he was there to fight. And that's all he needed to do. And like the movie was, and I love the first X-Men movie. I still think that movie holds up. And same thing with Sabretooth in that movie. They were both just there to fight because they already had too many characters to go with.
Yeah, and I think Sabretooth probably said like 5 lines throughout the movie anyway.
I think, yeah, he might.
He just growled a lot.
And Toad had like one line too.
Yeah.
I think he said like, "Where's the girl?" And
one thing X-Men Origins did right was Sabretooth, I think. And
Yeah,
having Liev Schreiber play him.
That's right. Yeah, he was the best part of that movie. I wish that movie was good, so that way I can look back and say like Sabretooth was finally done right, because he was technically done right there. Just Deadpool was
ruined. Well, I mean, the movie had a lot of problems, but yeah, Deadpool I think ruined the entire movie for a lot of
and
people.
the Blob was in. I remember watching that trailer, and the Blob was like in the trailer. I was like, oh, the Blob's gonna be in this movie. Yeah. And he's in it for like a second. Half a second. It was
That's
literally
probably what's going to happen in Apocalypse too, because he's in the one trailer. He'll probably be in it for half a second.
Yeah, it was literally, and I can't. That's a pet peeve of mine for for so many movies where they make a scene just for the trailer, and yet it's still in the movie.
Yeah,
it's so annoying. There's even dialogue like that where it's like. This like like all right, this is made for a trailer, you know.
Yeah, I hope in the next Wolverine movie that Liev Schreiber's back.
Yeah, I would like for him to be back.
That'd be cool. Yeah, X-Men, Apocalypse is very divisive right now, and I'm still hoping it's really good.
Yeah, and I feel like it's kind of X-Men as a whole is divisive, not the comics, the movie series. There's people that love and hate it. And I feel like that's just going to be the same with this movie. I guess just to end up the episode as far as like however this movie turns out, like however a movie turns out in a franchise always affects the future of the franchise. We're seeing that right now with Warner Brothers and DC.
Yeah.
If whether this movie is successful or not, do you think that Fox might pull a Sony?
No.
No?
I really don't think so. I think that because Sony was desperate. Fox isn't desperate. If Deadpool did poorly, maybe, and if Days of Future Past did terribly, then yeah, I'd be more inclined to say yes. But I really don't think so. Especially because Fox holds a severe grudge against Marvel because they basically shafted Fantastic Four in the comic books, and they kind of hurt X-Men a little bit too, just to spite Fox.
Yeah.
I think if with any of their properties that they would likely do that would be Fantastic Four. If not, completely just selling it back.
Yeah.
But I highly doubt they would do anything, especially not with the X-Men. No, I don't think right at this point, even if this movie isn't the hit that they want, I don't think Marvel will get involved with I don't think they'll involve Marvel with the X-Men.
It would be kind of hard for Marvel to jump in because like you have these two universes that it's like they never crossed paths before at all.
Yeah. Plus, with how they have the X-Men movies taking place in past decades,
right?
Currently, and the next one's planned to be in the 90s, it wouldn't work out.
No.
If anything, right now, Deadpool, they'd be a collaboration with Deadpool on something from the X-Men. The Marvel universe, or it's Spider-Man.
Yeah, and I think that would work fine because I know because Deadpool would openly acknowledge how it doesn't make sense that he's in that movie.
Yeah, he would comment on it.
Yeah, but again, Marvel's owned by Disney, so
yeah, one of their characters would have to appear in a Deadpool movie. Deadpool wouldn't appear in their movies.
No, yeah, because I don't think Disney would want to be attached to that. Like they would again. I don't think Disney would mind like letting the character or selling. They
just won't make the movie themselves.
No, right. They don't want anything to do with it.
Right.
Which is fine. Disney's been great with Marvel. We've gotten some of the best superhero movies I've ever seen because of that.
Disney saved Marvel.
Yeah, they did.
I mean, because The Incredible Hulk and Iron Man 1 were not released by Disney. That was before Disney acquired them.
Paramount.
Yeah, it was Paramount and Universal. And like the first couple MCU movies were released by different studios, and then Disney bought it, and I think Disney gave them the resources and everything they needed to make it into the juggernaut that it is today.
Yeah.
I think we do owe that to Disney. But I think that including as sweet as it would be to see like X-Men Avengers crossovers and like some characters from here and there, and Wolverine in an Avengers movie or, in a Marvel movie in general, I think that trying to bridge the two universes would be a bad idea because
Causes a lot of problems.
It'd cause a lot of problems, just consistency-wise and timeline-wise and stuff, but it'd be too large. Because the MCU is already very big, and it's only getting bigger. They're having to cut people out and characters and whatever and putting them aside from now. But the X-Men universe still has a lot of room to grow now that they're going to do Deadpool, probably an X-Force movie. I think that, and the rights that Fox has for certain characters in Marvel, I think it would just be too much for one universe. Even if they're, not fully absorbed into one another, but like partnered with, like how Sony's doing it. I wouldn't want that. Fantastic Four going right to Marvel, that's fine.
Yeah.
Because not even so much for the Fantastic Four themselves, but I would love to see Doctor Doom in a Marvel movie. Because I think he's one of the best villains Marvel has.
Yes.
In the comics, and I'm just so disappointed with how
he's never been treated
him.
right.
Yeah. Especially in the Fan Four stick. But yeah, I don't see Fox pulling a Sony anytime soon.
No. Yeah, I agree. As much as I would love to see it, if this movie would have to bomb so bad for me to consider something like that seriously. It's more of a wishful
thinking. It would take
thinking.
more than this movie bombing, though. It would take this movie, the next X-Men movie,
and probably the next
Deadpool or any other sort of X-Men spin-off movie they do. And they're starting a TV universe for the shows too, for X-Men too. They're gonna have, why can't I fucking think of it?
Is it based off a single character?
Professor X's son is gonna be the main character in it. It's gonna be on FX, but it's gonna be one of like a couple they're gonna try out.
So, Fox essentially wants us to have just like an X-Men universe, like with Star, like not with Star Wars. I'm sorry, with like what
Legion.
Marvel's doing. Okay,
that's one of I think there's plans for more depending on how that works out, but they kind of want to do what Marvel has done now with established TV shows to either connect or complement their movie universe.
Okay, but do you think Fox would ever do like a movie universe like X-Men is like the Avengers, and then like Storm has a solo movie, and Cyclops is a solo movie, and like Nightcrawler is a solo movie?
It would really depend on the character, because I don't think some characters work well outside of the team movies.
Yeah, I think Beast would work. Maybe he works in the comics, but like there's only a handful of characters that could ever work in a solo movie. I think Rogue could, absolutely.
I think Rogue. I mean, clearly Wolverine. Granted, the Wolverine was not that bad, but he's somebody who can. Obviously, Deadpool can. It's
Gambit could if he's done right.
Yeah, I don't know. Because they have that Gambit movie coming out, but it's been delayed a couple times. And
I don't think it's gonna come out.
I don't know, but because Gambit, I like Gambit, but he's not like the greatest character. He's not as great as people make him seem. I'm willing to admit that. I do like Gambit, but but it's very limited. And the X-Men has probably a more rotating. Specifically, the team that operates under Professor X has a higher rotation than even the Avengers does.
Yeah,
and not to mention a much larger roster.
The X-Men.
Yeah.
I don't know. A lot of.
I mean, granted, since
almost every Marvel superhero has been in the Avengers.
Yeah. But granted that in the comic books at least, I think it was either House of M or M Day, where Scarlet Witch eliminated like
all the mutants. They were
almost, like
yeah,
90-something% of the mutants.
They were an endangered species up until Avengers vs. X-Men, the end of it, when Scarlet Witch essentially like outdoes undoes what she did before.
Yeah, but like there's so many mutants. Like it's it's tough. It's tough to choose from. I don't know how many would work out well in Solo, but there are some that would work. Like I would like a Michael Fassbender led Magneto series.
Yeah, that would be sweet.
Because he's so good. He's a great actor, and Magneto is a great character. He's an awesome villain. At times anti-hero, however you want to consider him. I consider him more of a villain, but
he is a villain. He's a tragic villain, though.
Yeah, he's a great character, and like he's got a tragic backstory that I think they've gone into clips of it obviously in First Class and bits throughout the first 3 X-Men movies, but like I think he's got the gravitas that can do it.
The opening to the ending kind of falls apart a little bit in X-Men 1, but it's still good. But the opening for X-Men 1
was really good.
Was awesome.
Really, really good.
So good. So well shot. You almost don't even know it's an X-Men movie until Magneto starts bending the fence.
Right.
And even after that, with Jean Grey giving the speech at the UN, or was it the U.S. Capitol or was it the UN?
It was the U.S. Capitol.
U.S. Capitol. She's giving the speech at the U.S. Capitol, and then there's like that conversation between Charles and Eric, and that was even awesome.
I agree.
Watching those two talk, and then like the movie never got as good as those first 2 scenes, but it still was a great movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that in First Class they did Professor X and Magneto's relationship really well.
Yeah,
and I think that's something that could have been explored a lot more, and probably could have spanned more than one movie, because they do have like a very tumultuous relationship, but they really provide a lot of interesting scenes and stories and stuff together.
Right.
Yeah, there's really only, I don't know who else would work so well as a solo movie right now. I don't know if Cyclops would, to be honest.
No,
maybe like a Cyclops Jean Grey movie.
Yeah, it's hard because a lot of these characters that have been established, they're X-Men characters. They're not characters that joined the X-Men, like Wolverine. Wolverine was not originally he premiered in the Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
So he already had a basis before that. But yeah, so I don't know. I don't know what Fox is trying to do for the future, but so far as when it comes to X-Men Apocalypse, I'm still excited for it. I'm excited to see it, to see how I feel.
Yeah. And to be fair, more people have approved of this X-Men movie than not. Not a whole lot, but 56%.
Yeah. That's still it still can't be as bad as Origins Wolverine.
No, I think that's the lowest point of X-Men.
Yeah. It was. But it still didn't hurt Hugh Jackman's career.
Oh, no, definitely not. It made, him as Wolverine made him a household name.
Yeah, he's
throughout the world. I mean, he was, pretty big in theater and like in Australia and stuff, but this
made him like a Hollywood star.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really have much, but once the movie comes out, expect a review on it. I'm sure there'll be a couch review too.
There'll be a couch review and also an Awesome Sunday Show. And as a tradition, Awesome Sunday Show will have the spoilers, and couch review will have the non-spoilers.
Right.
So when we do both of those episodes, we just gotta remind that.
Yeah.
Because our Civil War couch review, it was spoiler free, but there's a few times where I was talking, I was like, I have to not say spoilers. Like,
yeah. Yeah,
we're getting the hang of it.
Yeah, it's hard to completely, curb yourself from saying spoilers. But thanks for listening. Like, comment, share, subscribe on YouTube, Podbean, iTunes. Mm-hmm. Download on iTunes, obviously.
Rate us on iTunes too. That's also very important, please.
Yeah, rate us. Even if you don't listen, just do it.
Yeah,
I'm not going to be offended if you don't listen, but you give it a view or like it. Even if you put it on mute while you have it open on YouTube, and get us that view and that thumbs up.
Yeah,
that's fine.
We should, because we want to start monetizing.
Yeah. We don't want to have to do a Patreon or
Yeah, I would love
Indiegogo or some shit like that.
Yeah, I'd rather get paid for doing the work, not asking to get paid so I can work.
Right. And then follow us on Twitter. I'm at RickPatMick.
And I'm at Less Than Connor.
The Twitter handle is at Awesome Sun Show. Connor's going to mention the characters. Got to get it in there before you. Follow the Couch Review at the Couch Review.
Yeah.
Go listen to our Civil War podcast. Hopefully you've seen it by now. If you haven't, I don't know what the hell you're waiting for. And then go listen to the Couch Review first if you still haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what else to add, actually. You pretty much just said it all.
There we go. All right, guys. See you.
Peace.